Hey skaters, this is the Teamgee H3 DIY electric skateboard kit. It's super affordable and comes with everything you need to turn a regular skateboard into an electric skateboard. All you need to do is provide the skateboard deck. The H3 DIY kit itself is $299, and I just picked up myself a really cheap skateboard from Big W for 25 bucks. Big W is kind of like the smaller version of Walmart, I suppose, here in Australia. The goal of this video is to answer two questions. The first is, how easy is it to install this kit? What kind of tools are you gonna need? How long does it take? Can anybody just do it? And the second is, how well does it perform? Now, there is a caveat to this question, which we will go into a little bit more detail later on when we do that in this video. So first, let's turn this trash skateboard deck into something which is a little bit more electrified. So this is the deck, really basic. I think it's just maple. It's 9-ply high impact wooden deck. So I don't even know what kind of wood it is, but it's super stiff. There's no flex in it at all. It has a cool little shark fin kicktail, which I love. The wheels are tiny. The trucks are horrible. But that doesn't matter. All of that is going to change. So what do we got in here? Got the user manual, all the things. That's the charging brick, a pair of riser pads, which is nice, cable. That's the remote. We'll have a look at that a little bit more later on. T-tool and Allen key. That's all the hardware that we're going to need to install this contraption. Micro USB charger. And then here it is. We've got, this is the front trucks with the wheels. Don't worry, we'll go into specs a little bit more later on. And here is the main unit. It's nice and shiny. I've already taken the protective film off. I couldn't help myself, I just had to have a look. Hub motors, the trucks, the rear trucks are integrated into the, oh, it kind of slips off, I suppose, for installation purposes. You have to figure that one out. But it's all enclosed. So there's not really any easy access to the battery, which is not the end of the world. It's good for waterproofing. It also has this foam around here, just for shock absorbing, protecting the battery, that kind of thing. So we have 3 different bolt lengths here. We've got 2 long ones, which go on the truck and the enclosure. That's one sticks them both together. We've got a really short one, which will be at the other end of the enclosure. And then we have 7 of these middle ones, I guess because we're going to use 6 of them, and it looks like we've got 1 spare. So we've got Phillips heads on top with just regular old bolts on the bottom. So all you need to use is a screwdriver, regular Phillips head screwdriver, and I suppose a spanner if you've got it. I'm going to use a shifter just to hold it in. You could even use a pair of pliers, might make it easier as well. So let's do that. You really don't need to keep any of this hardware if you've bought a deck, unless you plan on putting these trucks and wheels back on in the future. A lot of you probably just have an old deck lying around that you want to use. So I'm just going to skip this part, and I'll see you to install the H3 DIY component. That was easy. Got the deck now. Cool little grip tape underneath. Mambo logo on the front. Bit cringe. This Allen key doesn't fit these bolts, so you're gonna have to find your own set of Allen key. This Allen key is for those hubcaps only, which is okay. It's a DIY project, which is supposed to be a bit fun. Grab your own tools. Close enough. So the way that this will work is you've got to line up the existing holes from the previous set of trucks with the new truck holes. You can see that there's two options here depending on the length of truck that you've got, and the other one are these two holes at the front here. So this is where you're going to use those longer bolts, and then you're going to use a standard set of middle set of bolts in this one here. So you just line them up, put the bolts through, tighten her up. One thing, we only have to drill one hole, which is nice, and that's going to be for the one that sits up at the other end of the enclosure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it all up, and I'm going to make a little mark. There's a bit of wiggle room in here. If you're super anal and you want it to be in the center, I would just go here, 21, so the hole needs to be at 10.5, right about there. And go ahead and chuck a mark through there. It's hard to see because it's right on that black. So I'll just take these out for now. So you're gonna need a drill for this one. Yeah, these holes seem to be 5mm. Make sure you wear protective gear. I will be kitting up with glasses and earmuffs. Easy peasy when you've got the tools. Yeah, nice, that is that. So let's go ahead and put the closure on first. Save the front wheels for later because that'll be super easy. So these little tops go in from the top of the deck. So the middle sized bolts go out the back. And then the longies will go at the enclosure ends of the truck holes. Gotta keep an eye out for that. So I'm gonna hold them in with my hands and then just aim them in over the top. Make sure everything's aligned. Oops, there's it. Beautiful. So what you'll notice is that when you put these bolts in, there is a gap between the deck and the base plate. Hopefully you can see that all right there. And the bolts don't really pop up that well. So what we're gonna have to do is tighten these ones up to compress this foam to remove this gap so that we can put the bolts on top of here. So because these little holes have this locking nut system in it, you have to put the bolts in here and then thread the screws through. But when you put the screws through, the nut pushes out. So I did a cheeky little thing where I grabbed one of the other bolts and I put it in hat facing down and just pressed the bolt in towards the other end so that I could easily screw in the bolts. And that seemed to work well. Now I'll do this front bolt. Again, it's kind of locking up against the enclosure, so you'll want to hold the bolt up against the enclosure and screw the bolt in with the Allen key. Oh, all right. Until it decides it wants to move. Just grab a pair of pliers, whack her in. So now that's connected, but the only issue is that little gap that we had here. We're gonna have to tighten up all of the bolts around the truck's base plate to reduce this foam so that this base plate is sitting flush against the deck and we can get those extra bolts in. Beautiful. That's now sitting flush with the deck. We can go ahead and put those other screws straight up in here. Now we've got that extra space. Go ahead and chuck them on. Get spinning. We've got the enclosure stuck to the deck. All right, last thing to do is to chuck the front wheels on. So you're gonna wanna use this riser pad here because of that extra space that we had on the underneath the base plate of this truck due to the enclosure. So this is just gonna level out the whole thing. So kingpin facing forward. This part's super easy. If you've ever ridden skateboards in the past, you've probably done this. If not, don't worry about it. It is so easy. All four of them up. Chuck the riser on. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It would only matter if you had trucks that needed to use these other small holes, but in this case, they don't. Chuck it on. And lastly, screw them up tight. Voila! Check it out, we've got our own little electric skateboard. Kind of feels cool that we made this ourselves. So let's just quickly go through the specs of the H3 DIY kit. If you want to see detailed information about it, you can check that out at Teamgee's website. That link is in the description. But just quickly, it is a single hub motor drive with 400 watts of power, and that's going to get you a top speed of about 16 miles per hour, which is 26 kilometers an hour. And the range is about 6.2 miles, which is 10 kilometers. It has a hill climbing grade of 15%. These wheels are 84 millimeters and they just look like a standard set of eSkate trucks. It really is quite simple and it's designed for young kids and people that just want to cruise around. Now I'm going to go out and do some tests of this board, but the caveat that I was alluding to earlier is that this board is rated for someone who is at around 80 kilograms, which is 172 pounds. And now I'm 90 kilograms or 198 pounds, I think that is the conversion. So I'm going to get a lot less range and top speed than what it's spec'd at. So yeah, as I said, this is really designed for kids, for youngsters. As we saw, the installation was pretty easy. All you needed was a drill to cut that extra hole in the deck. So I do recommend that kids don't do this alone. They have some adult supervision when doing this. Aside from that, I think the rest of the installation process is pretty much doable by young teenagers, maybe not so much kids, but it would be a great project to do with yourself and your kid, or you and your parents. Enough yabbering, let's go out and go for a ride and see how this thing feels mainly. Yeah, I'll see you out there. I'm not surprised at the performance of this board considering my weight and its rated max load. So interestingly, it has 4 modes. Let's cycle through them here. This is speed mode 1, super slow. I found that it could hardly even get me going at the weight that I am. So in mode 2, it gets a little bit faster. Mode 3 gets a little bit faster again. Mode 4, same top speed, but it's got a higher acceleration, so a little bit faster off the mark. A cool feature that it does have is auto turn on. So you just power on the remote, kick push, and it pairs. And away you go. I love that feature. It makes it feel a little bit more like a traditional skateboard. So you can just kick push off and get going, which I highly recommend for something like this, because that is going to extend the range. If you're constantly accelerating from a complete standstill with these kinds of motors, you're gonna run the battery dry a lot quicker. Kick pushing just gives you that extra little bit of pace. The motors don't have to work as hard and you're gonna get some more range. Another handy feature is that the remote does have reverse. You just hold that button down, this green flashing light will change to a red flashing light to indicate you are in reverse. And the same thing to go back to forward, you just hold down reverse, green means go. Overall, the riding feel was pretty comfortable. The trucks stock are set really nice, lots of easy turns, but maintain stability when going at its higher speeds, I suppose. The hill climbing ability again was a little bit hard for me to test because of my weights, but I went up a hill grade that was about 7 to 10%, so not that steep, and it just crawled up. Again, lighter riders, you're gonna find that these hills are much easier. So in the end, this is a great option for kids who are learning to ride electric skateboards for the first time, and maybe they want a little bit of a school holiday project to make their own electric skateboard. It's super simple, need a little bit of adult supervision, but overall, I think it's really good fun. So that's my Teamgee H3 DIY electric skateboard kit review. I know it's been simple, but that's what this thing is about. It's easy to install, it's easy to ride, it's just simple all around. If you want more information about it, head down to the description below. There's links to Teamgee's website where you can buy it and see more detailed specs, and a link to my website where I tend to talk a little bit more in detail about the specs and the technical sides of things there. Thank you so much for watching. As always, ride safe out there, e-skaters, and I'll see you soon.